Level 6 of My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, same thing, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and you can check it out on my website, peteraradio.us. And I got a nice little playlist on Tidal called Watch Out Volume 7. Get that also on my website. And before I bring in my special noisy friends, got a quick story for you, right? I went to a house show way out in Long Island. It was so much fun. This great band called Giants, they played, and when they got off the stage, they just kind of forgot to do all their band business stuff, right? The lead singer said to herself, I forgot to plug my Bandcamp page. And I asked them, do you have any merch? And I was given an answer of no. When's your next show? We don't have one booked. To me, that's absolutely hysterical, but that's usually a deal breaker with me with bands because I like to see bands like work, hardworking bands that have shows booked and have merch just there, tapes, what have you. And my guests today have all of that. They are one of the hardest working bands I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And they have a new album coming out April 12th. It's called Pinned. Please welcome A Place to Bury Strangers.
Yo, how you doing?
Yeah. How's it going? You guys are here live and in charge. And, when I was starting to put together this podcast, I knew I had to have you guys because, doing radio when I had you guys on, I had to stop, take breaks, and play music. Now I just want to have a full, raw audio assault conversation.
There we go.
Uh-oh. You like to make a fool of us, don't you?
Yes, that is the plan. That is definitely the plan. And you got the release show at Elsewhere, right? This Thursday, April 12th. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But there's two spaces in Elsewhere. There's Zone 1 and there's another one.
The main hall, yeah.
Okay. So you guys are playing it like one space is for like the bigger acts and the other one is for like the smaller ones.
Yeah, which is cool, right?
Yeah.
It's cool that there's a spot like that. There are no other spots like that, I feel.
I think there are a lot
like
coming
where?
up.
Like where?
Sometimes there was the Wick and the Well or something.
But
like
no,
that.
but one's 200 people and one's 600 people.
Yeah.
I feel like there's nothing else like that,
That's true, or at least not anymore. Maybe there was
not in the
back
same
in the
place,
past.
No, not in the same. I'm talking about
in the actual
in the same building.
Like Madison Square Garden has MSG, then you have the theater at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
That's the same thing.
There we go. Okay, well, they're apparently they're everywhere.
But you're right, it is a unique experience. And you shot a video for There's Only One of Us, right?
Yeah.
What was that like? How'd you put that together? Like, are you allowed to not allowed, are you able to book space to shoot videos at that space?
I guess so.
Yeah. We're also even friends with the people who kind of run and set up that place, so kind of had a little bit of an in to make that happen.
Yeah, I think it was the people that the Glasslands that did that.
That's it. Yeah.
So Death by Audio was right around the corner from Glasslands, and I guess it seems to me like those people are just trying to do good things with the community, and do something that's cool and creative, and so allowing bands to do that kind of thing is part of that.
Yeah, but you can even definitely tell from the setup of the club and stuff. You feel like you're in some weird Berlin party house or something, and they really put their heart and soul into making it a weird, interesting place to kind of walk through. The building was totally stripped and raw. I saw it before they started building it, and there's weird things where you walk through a bathroom into a secret room and bar and stuff, and it's they planned those things, that is. With having the idea of, living in those crazy creative kind of DIY spaces, they sort of, I think, wanted to make a legitimate venue which had that same kind of vibe. So as best as you could, I think legitimate kind of somehow, I don't know if that's the right conversation for it, but it, kind of takes away from these DIY venues in some ways. There's something about where legal and illegal don't necessarily shake hands, but
I think it's a good trend, though, to continue music in a place that people actually do feel, safe in and also inspired by, because there's a whole bunch of things going on and creativity sort of in the process and the making of it, and also someone who had a venue being able to sort of extend that appreciation for that experience of having a smaller place, making it a bigger one.
Totally.
There's so many instances where, as far as like legal issues are concerned, there's other illegal things that go on within the city that, can be focused on with law enforcement, besides like looking at what artists are doing. Oh, you don't have the permits to put on a show here, therefore you can't this is illegal. But like, what's the problem here? No one's getting hurt.
Well, unfortunately, people do get hurt.
Sometimes.
That is true.
There's that fire in Oakland and things like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's a fine line. I mean, I think I like the idea of people being able to do what they want to do, but you've also got to keep in mind that you don't want to hurt someone in the process. Of doing that. You want a certain amount of looseness, but like you gotta.
Should be
gotta be
ingrained
safe too.
with the whole idea of having a community come together in the first place. You want people to be safe. You want people to feel safe. You should take the time to.
Yeah, that's life with any of that stuff. I
Yeah.
think people are trying to gather together with like a carnival and stuff, and
Yeah.
everybody's trying to have a good time. It's like sure bad things could happen anyway.
Anywhere.
There should just be some sort of laws which just generally protect people. Which I guess that's just like the courts and everything.
That's what I kind of liked about when we were in Manila. There was some crazy stuff going on there, and 5 people on a motorcycle carrying a piece of wood that was 14 feet long,
Or a ladder. Remember we saw
ladders
someone.
and stuff.
What's Manila? What are we
Manila
Philippines.
is
in the Philippines.
in the
Oh,
Philippines, and it had a sense of do whatever you want to do. And I asked someone about it, and they said, yeah, basically you can do whatever you want here, but you got to just not hurt anyone. You can carry a ladder on a motorcycle, but you got to be careful. You can't. I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's like
everyone
basically-
taking care of them, making sure that they've some responsibility.
But what about this
In a
dancing
third
law
world.
that was going?
I mean,
I had
this
no idea.
dancing law, come on,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
stupid.
You couldn't dance in bars or
mean,
something
that
like that. I
sucks.
never knew about that.
But now they've-
cabaret license. Yeah.
Now
Right.
They stopped it, right? You could dance in bars again or
Yeah,
something.
I think so. But that's so strange. 'Cause-
Wait, where was that?
In New York.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no dancing in bars like in Manhattan and stuff. It's cabaret law, and you could have your
You're not allowed to
cabaret
dance.
license. So there were certain places which people could go and dance, but like you couldn't like bop your head at pianos or something like that. Technically. But I think
I thought you were talking
No one
about
enforced
Manila,
No,
a
no
third
one's
world
enforcing
country.
it. No,
It's like,
no.
oh, that's why you told me not to dance in the airport.
Because I was at Mercury Lounge a couple of years
that
ago, and
was
I was
for other-
dancing to Taco Head.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I never really. That's so strange. That's what I meant by like, as far as illegal
I mean,
legalities. and
all of
performance.
a bunch of these laws were made up to do is if they wanted to exercise their right to, fine a bar because they didn't like them and maybe
Yeah.
somebody didn't get the proper treatment they thought, they could just slap them with a fine instantly. Because you go into someplace where music's playing, someone's shaking their shoulders or doing something. So if you wanted to fine people, same thing, this just happens all the time with everything. It's like any way they could get the people that they want to get with the law, then they'll rain the law down on them. Same thing with like we were talking about Leah and I about doing our taxes earlier and stuff, and it's like it seems like you kind of are just maybe getting attacked or something sometimes with like the IRS and these things, maybe for no reason, maybe for some reason. It's like nobody knows what the heck's going on, or your health insurance or something. You can't read these forms. You don't know what the heck they're talking about. It's like you're just hoping that the system's working out with your faith. You don't have like a lawyer defending you against the terms of these contracts or something. So you just go on the faith, and then if they say that you owe too much money, you're maybe screwed or something, and then you have to get a lawyer or something.
What's really cool? Now that you brought that up, like people that like us, media and artists, creative stuff, filling out a tax return. That's just crazy. Like you write in your occupation, rock and roll, death by audio.
Yeah.
I put out 3 albums and this shit. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just so crazy. I love
Maybe
that.
that's why I got this.
I mean,
That's why I got audited.
yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And when shooting music videos, right? Because in the past, you guys have done it. As far as like doing it at elsewhere, is there a different way of? Do you need any kind of permits to shoot here, or it's like you have to just ask permission? Is it that simple?
I'm not too sure how that exactly worked out. I guess we can just shoot in there, maybe, I don't know if we paid a fee or whatever. But I mean, if you're shooting outdoors and things, sometimes you got to get permits.
When you did Love High on the Williamsburg Bridge, did you have to get
No, all of this stuff. I mean, yeah, we just
No,
kinda,
we've
we
never
just
had
went
to do that.
went for it and did it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think even the Elsewhere thing, it was just for being with friends. They probably do hire out their venue if people did want to. You know, because they have to pay for turning on the lights and the
things like that.
air and all that stuff. But you know, we just kind of go through the friendly route and make
We
things happen,
we
yeah.
kind of try to we keep things small in some ways and just like under the radar and just make it work how best we can without having to go through those routes.
And I think that works out.
It,
for you guys, you know?
it fits with the ethos of the band. So
Yeah, and the result, no one complains about what you guys produce. And 2017, you guys have done a lot of things by yourself to a degree. You know, Dion, you had your solo album. Oliver, you did that noise set, and Lee, I know you're working on some stuff. When you guys do things separately, do you use that as like conduits of ideas when you eventually come back together to produce something new?
I think, yeah, I mean, those things always kind of bounce off each other. You know, you get ideas, and you'll kind of maybe use it for your solo thing if it's not quite right for A Place to Be Strangers, or vice versa. You know, I mean, it all just keeps the creative juices flowing, and just takes you. I don't know. It's just all kind of practice to.
It kind
As
of
long as you're
even-
doing something, you know.
It even creates more outlets for these things. Like I do this kind of stuff, and we all kind of do where you're like working on different songs, and different things are just like appropriate for different feelings or emotions of what you're doing. So exactly like what Dion said, like you could be feeling one way, and maybe it just doesn't make sense with what A Place to Bury Strangers is doing, and then you're working on some other project, and you're like, oh, this would be a great idea to incorporate with that band or that project because it makes sense. So. You know, if you're just constantly working on things, like a lot of these different things that you develop and work on in your life fit in these different kinds of projects. And so they all kind of get built together. And it's in some ways, it's sort of like utilizing every, part of these or essence of these aspects. It's like kind of even with the pedal company and building effects pedals, it's like I could be in the studio and working on some sort of sounds, and then that sort of inspires what would be like an effect pedal or something, or building an effects pedal and be like, oh, this would, sound really cool on Leah's drums or something like that. And then, you can kind of try it out. So it's like, all of these different aspects, working in the music world, and recording our own projects and everything, even then relate to how we can communicate and work with no matter where we go and what we do.
Yeah, it's cool because I think us working apart together, like Oliver just said, it sort of helps you gain perspective for what you exactly, what I want to see within the band from my part of it, from my presence in it is like, I want to learn and understand how to connect with it deeper and deeper and deeper, both like within myself and with the guys or with the music and with everything. So when we step back and take our time to do our own thing, I think it's time for me to reflect or us to reflect on what we're doing, within the band as well, that we could do better, or that we could like sort of concentrate on more or accentuate on more, even just a feeling like the feeling of this song is different now from what it was last time. So how can I embellish that with like how I play it or how we incorporate it in the live spectrum of everything?
So it seems like A Place to Bury Strangers is an outlet for other things. You know what I mean? It could be like this is,
or it's the outlet that's for that
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
Right,
it's
right.
the opposite.
It's a two-way thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
As an artist, you've got to widen your spectrum and do as many different things as you can. If you just stay on the one line, it's going to get boring real quick, and you're not going to grow.
Yeah,
you just got
it's
to
true.
you got to just keep, I was seeing an interview with David Bowie last night, and he was saying that quite often if he was like stuck for music, he would paint. And that would really sort of open up his mind and give him ideas. And even with his cut-up vocals, he used to do the cut-up method where he would take random magazines and books, and he would cut out lines and lines, and then he'd cut them to pieces and he'd arrange them. It was a good way to kind of, beat writer's block or just sort of come up with ideas that he wouldn't, you come up with naturally.
Step out of himself too.
Yeah, stepping out of himself, try
And with Bowie, he saw the internet and how that would affect music, and he was for it. And this is like 1999.
Right.
I was dumbfounded by that because it's so interesting to see a guy like him who at that time had decades of experience, understood the idea if you're not growing, you're dying.
Definitely. He definitely understood that.
And with you guys, touring Asia, I'm sure you guys have picked up on some new, wild, creative ideas and some of the artists you might have seen. You've probably been inspired by that. Is that right?
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. There were a lot of people that just, I mean, it was just the sincerity of the people that came to the show, I think, and just being humbled by the fact that there were fans, in this part of the world that, just like, for one, we went to Jakarta in Indonesia, and there's just this huge scene. I mean, there were these communities all over in Asia, everywhere we go in the States or Europe even. Like, it's just always really refreshing to see that there are communities everywhere that are really engaged in music or in learning or like understanding how music works for them or what it does to move them. And so in Jakarta, it was really cool because we were learning about all these different sects of Indonesian music and language and islands even. And I mean, just the people there know so much about Indonesia that it was just like the biggest, coolest like geography lesson or, and music lesson. I didn't know about Indonesian music like I did, like I do now, but it was super humbling and inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, with you, Leah, joining the band and being the newest, freshest member, and touring Asia with this band that's already, I know Dion and Oliver, you've probably been like, what like success is for music. You have that definition. Now, Leah, when you come, for real, no,
I know success.
yes. Like at least from me looking in, I'm like, this is what a successful band is. Have you found that definition of music success while being with this band?
I've
Now, be honest.
That definition is subjective, though. I'm telling you.
Well, what I see is what I found is success within what I was looking for within like the creative aspect of like, oh, cool, I'm working with people that are not only, not just set on what they have in front of them, which is like, a very vague spectrum of rock and roll that I've been exposed to with other bands or in my other experiences. So working with them, it's really fun because it's like, I feel, you're going to laugh at this, but I feel like an idiot a lot of the times because of the fact that like I feel like I don't know a whole lot about these different worlds that I'm getting exposed to, but it's really exciting because like I get to sort of explore that more and more. And it's really encouraging on their end because they don't judge the fact that I don't know something or they don't like, I'm always afraid that they're just going to like be like, oh, you're not this, you're not that. We don't need this, like we want someone that knows more about this, but they're just like, this is cool. It's just, they're real people and they're my friends and they're people that like, I really, really enjoy being around and playing music with. So that's my success for sure.
Absolutely. And that's the perfect answer because you guys have to understand where I come from. You know what I mean? Bands that I know that I'm friends with barely leave Long Island.
Right, yeah.
So when I see you guys are going on tour in Asia, and I'm like, this band is successful. With the D4, you guys toured everywhere, and you just, did a thing in New Zealand again. I saw you burn an amp, light an amp on fire. To me, that's success. You know what I mean?
It was successful, yes. It was successful because no one got burned.
Of course not. Of course, just that poor
It didn't
amplifier.
burn down the place, yeah.
Yeah.
It was successful.
I think one thing that's really cool that you notice when you go to all these different places is how, like Leo was mentioning, and it's just like there's all these kids have come together to create these scenes that are really awesome and really strong communities, and it's all very much like the community that you would have with your friends, and it's just so wild that everywhere you go in the whole world is the awesomest people in such cool communities of awesome artists and people who just love music and love to live and love to eat food and talk and have a good time. it just blows my mind when anyone is at all like, any bit like build this wall for Mexico or any of these things or something. It just, I cannot believe it. It's like, are you freaking kidding? Like,
When you're
Mexico's
literally
so
breaking down
cool.
walls, yeah.
Mexico's so cool. Like, all these people are so awesome and so beautiful and so
Yeah.
incredible and amazing.
Yeah.
And like, why would anyone have anything bad to say about any of these places? Like, even a lot of the places, like, you'd go to that people, it was like dangerous and shitty or something like that in ways, like Manila or something. It's like, it's so wonderful, like so cool. Like, it just brightens your whole day just to stand there for 10 minutes or something and even walk around.
Because you
It's
see
wild.
that they're living life. They're living in this very present, including in Mexico as well, where it's just people are so like used to living at this like extreme poverty level or extreme like condition of weather or circumstance that's like we couldn't even be aware of living in a Western country, world, society, and so that's what I think is really fascinating about it, is like even if there's this like oppressive state and things that we sort of see, and same with people that see the States as that as well, where it's like now we're screwed up because this one guy in office is deciding to take away all these funds from people and from these communal spaces that we really care about and that serve its purpose and serve the people's purpose, but then you see the people and they're still living and moving around, and that is it's just really cool to see.
But when speaking of like this, no walls, no divide within your music and your live shows, I don't see that. What I see is you guys in the crowd talking amongst people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting because like your live set, you don't banter. There's no stage banter, but what you do is you talk to the people before you go on stage. You know what I mean? Like at that Crazy Aviv show, like I was just wandering around and Oliver sees me, he's like, "Oh, hey man, how you doing?" And it's just like I love that. And before that, that show at where was that? The Villain, right? And you guys are just talking to people, talking to everybody. I'm like, this is awesome, And for me, when I see a band that I like on stage, and I see them walking around, I can't go up to them. You know what I mean? Like I'm just very nervous.
Sure.
I saw Charlie Bliss at Baby's Alright. I saw Eva right in front of me. I didn't know what to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you guys have no divide. You just kind of just go in there and just talk to people. And with this new album, April 12th, and is it being a band for over 10 years? Like, is this the time that you see yourselves reinventing yourself? Like, this is the time to do something completely different now?
Sometimes, I mean, you often get that kind of that urge, and especially I think now that we're on like our fifth record, you kind of, we've done so many things, and we've been like precious about certain particular things throughout the cycle of this, the history of this band, that there's no point in being precious with anymore. I think that you still need to be able to reflect upon yourself and kind of be able to judge, to kind of like, make sure that we steer in an interesting direction and are still doing interesting projects, because you could just kind of like give up like some of this kind of like inspiration and desire to want to do some of these things, and you just have to make sure that you're just like still really strong and passionate about doing something that you still really are interested in aesthetically. But I think as time goes on, every like record, you kind of like shed another layer of skin, or your kind of like personal shell of what you always like, you never would have done before or something. And I feel like we kind of did a lot with this record and this, incarnation of the band and the way things are going. It seems like I feel like we're on the brink of doing some cool stuff.
But what was so precious that you were holding on to? What was that?
There's just sort of this idea, like there's just a bunch of different random things where it's like, I always want to try to write like the most craziest song ever that anyone's ever heard. It's got to be like the most intense noise that anyone's ever heard, or doing things where it's like, we're going to be a band that just plays, acoustic instruments, and will electrifies those acoustic instruments, but that be the basis of the band. And then like kind of as time sort of goes on, maybe, you realize that it's like, it's more about this kind of like physical energy, which is exciting. And sometimes you can embrace some of these other things that were maybe out of your comfort zone, but just still like have that like electric energy. And maybe it's sort of almost like you're refining some of these ideas that you had, and you sort of realize, like, because you've asked yourself these questions of constantly developing things, like what's at the core of this, and so it's kind of just, it's like, I don't know, doing like years of research or something on the subject, and you sort of start to kind of, distill those kinds of ideas, or it's like, take one thought process and idea and, bring it to a more purposeful thought process and idea.
Have you three have noticed something concrete creatively that you haven't explored yet, that you would like to or are trying to avoid?
I mean, I like the idea of exploring. We did the 4-track set, during the show.
Oh, feel free to get geeky. You know what I mean? I'll just ask what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Well, that thing we do in the middle of a crowd.
Yeah.
For the show sometimes.
Which if people weren't to...
Love it.
If people haven't seen the show, how would you describe it?
It's like we transform the show. We get off the stage. We play through a little miniature setup where...
That's for damn sure.
Where we mix the band. We plug directly into a little machine. We're not playing through amps as well. We are a little bit, but it's hard to explain. But anyway, we basically write songs on the spot. We don't play any of our given songs. We just go with the feel of what's happening right then. I would like to go more down that track of trying to write songs in the moment, from start to end. Hopefully stumbling across ideas maybe that I never would have come up with had I thought about it, been given too much time to think about it. I like the idea of just being thrown into a situation and having to come up with something really good, and even stumbling across stuff that's like, wow, I don't know, that you'd never kind of come up with.
We were talking a couple days ago, Dion and I, about how I heard from someone that, and this is different from our music, but Joanna Newsom, she when she writes music, she sometimes plays with instruments that she doesn't feel comfortable with, that she's not classically or formally trained in. And so what I like when we're playing or when we're just hanging out, we'll, all of us will sort of switch around. Like Oliver will play drums and I'll play guitar, which I don't know how to do. I feel extremely uncomfortable playing guitar, but like somehow we sort of try to play around with that. And it's cool because we're like exploring different parts of us, and that sort of helps us become more concrete in our comfortability with like how we can present ourselves to either that instrument or an instrument that we're more familiar with.
Now, I've seen this in your live show, but have you ever thought about getting crazy and wild on record?
On that, actually, on Pinned, there's like a bonus record.
Oh, there we go.
And it has... I don't know if it's going to be available individually, but it's available in like the deluxe edition or something. And it actually has a song where it's like I'm playing the drums. It's got a song where Leah's playing guitar.
It's basically
kind of what we're talking about. Yeah, exactly. So all those songs, except for maybe one of them, were written right at that moment. And it's just, some of them are even at live shows, some of the songs on that record. There's sounds from like parties and chainsaws and some other weird things.
Chainsaws.
And just because you got to put a chainsaw on your record.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we record. So we record the chainsaw, and then we're like,
we get
all right,
inspired
let's start.
by the chainsaw.
We'll send that to radio. The chainsaw record.
Yeah, that I really like that bonus record. It is. If we could take that idea a little further, I think that would be really cool.
Yes, more chainsaws for the future. Did you guys build a studio
I
or
want
a
a larger
building?
chainsaw and a smaller chainsaw, like a baritone chainsaw.
Yeah, the alto.
That's the problem.
alto
It's out
chain.
of key,
Imagine tuning a chainsaw. Yeah, that's wild. So you guys built the studio, or
We
you're
built the
building?
studio, yeah.
Oh, it's done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's in Ridgewood.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to build?
Okay.
It's still going, man.
Still going. Okay.
Still.
Well,
but it's like
kind
you can record in there, which is good. That's kind of what you need in a studio, I guess.
It took us about 6 months to build.
Okay.
That's right.
Is that a normal time? No.
Who knows? I mean,
This one we particularly took a long time to do because we sort of tried to do it up like as right as possible, and
It was a lot bigger of a project, and also a lot
it's
of
like
us.
really high ceilings and like. You know, we sort of invented a lot of the processes of what would soundproofing be.
Will this be like available to the public, or just your private?
No, but you know, it would be fun to record with other people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
That'd be cool to do like a podcast in your.
I'd be interested
go.
in
That'd be
recording
fun.
out the bands.
Oh man, because you guys are crazy when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I love that, and it comes across very well on record. Now, one of the albums that changed your life, Oliver, was My Bloody Valentine Isn't Anything, and I look at that as one of the most underrated albums in their catalog. I love that album because that album is kind of like you guys building a studio. It's like it's the foundation of what became the shoegaze sound, or what Kevin Shields wanted to actualize on Loveless. That's what I think.
yeah, it's also I feel like it's got more of that kind of raw punk element, at least for me.
Yeah.
And like, that's just a lot of the stuff I really like. Like, I feel like the shoegaze music, what was so kind of cool about it is it was like the the answer to whatever music was going on, the sort of like the big fuck you to the music that people were making, at the time, and that's what was kind of exciting about it, like the Jesus and Mary Chain, or the Cocteau Twins or something.
Oh,
they were just
man.
making something that was so crazy and spaced out that nobody who was into popular music would ever want to listen to this stuff, So I think that's even what like punk music was, and all of this, and the shoegaze music was just the post punk music or whatever at the time.
Yep.
And so
Did you discover like earlier on when you were young, or like when you were started playing music?
it's maybe like right before I started playing music or something. It's like, at some point, I was into different types of music, and I think it was like, it was maybe my brother that like, what really just blew my mind and totally changed everything was like listening to kind of punk music, and maybe like in the late 80s or early 90s. And just through my brother, I was like, I couldn't even understand why anybody would like this music at first, but it was like really just intriguing, and then kind of diving into that. And then when I started kind of like having peers that was sharing music, we started to get into things like, Nirvana and The Cure and shoegaze music and Ministry and Metallica and all this stuff that we were sharing to kind of like expand our realm. And a lot of this music, and maybe this has even had something to do with why I was attracted to the shoegaze music, is like we would just like drive around and smoke weed and hang out and stuff. And so it's like
all about the drive.
So when you cranked it up, like the music's just so psychedelic, and stuff.
Yeah,
And
it
even
just kinda-
Metallica
it
and stuff like
hypnotizes you.
that too. It's like some of that early things. It's as ridiculous as it is. It sounds like haunting or something. And if you're driving, down some, lone, road in the woods or something, it's like scary or
Driving in the
something like
woods,
that, So listening to Slayer or whatever or something, it's like creepy or something actually. So it's kind of would really fit those things. And when you feel like a really intense emotion with music, I think that's that's one thing that I just love so much about music. You can be just almost scared out of your wits, or like just feel completely depressed and comfortable with it or something, and it can motivate you or whatever. But it's like those are the things which I like always really loved about songs, is those kind of even like super sad feelings or super pissed off feelings, and those kind of stuff that maybe a lot of people don't even always try to like write songs and embrace that type of music. And so I kind of always just gravitated towards that stuff. It's not good for a party per se, but it's good like for you and your friend to drive around to, or like you on your own in your bedroom to listen to.
Do you guys think a lot of that stuff ages very well? Because I listened to Loveless not too long ago, and I'm like, yep, this fits in 2018, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of those, it's, this just happens with music all over the place. Some of that stuff does age well, some of it doesn't. you know, and that's just, I don't know if that determines whether music is actually good or not. And sometimes you were just fooled by like some fancy like recording techniques.
Regardless of most music, or like the music that's good or that will still bring up, is universal. You know, I think at least, like, I still love Kate Bush. I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s, but like I still like that resonates with me. But like I also really love all kinds of different bands from 2018 to, you know, 1974 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think,
There's also things change with even like your perception of how everything is going, and if like everybody loves this stuff or not. Like there's something weird, I think, mentally. You know, we're talking about this kind of like the DIY scene and these things which are exciting, and there's something about it being illegal that makes it even more intriguing. And in the same respects, it makes it even more intriguing if everybody doesn't love it. So some of these bands, I don't know what it is, but it's like once you find out that everybody and their mom loves this band or something, sometimes it can ruin some bands. Some bands it doesn't, and it's like timeless. But some bands, like I remember it was like the Pixies or something, all of a sudden all the kids in like high school are singing these Pixie songs, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is it. I don't know why, it just kind of like turned some of those records and made me almost see like part of the like annoying sides of this band. And I don't know if I would have ever seen that had that not become like a giant popular phenomenon. Or even like DJs in the Lower East Side for a long time, like right when I moved to New York, it was like, it seemed like all this really cool. I was like, wow, all these people like alternative music and stuff. And I was like so excited kind of. And then it seemed like they're still playing the same DJ sets in like 2012 or something. And I'm like, come on, like what, we've all heard this Interpol song like 5,000 times or something. Like what's going on? But, you know, nothing against Interpol, whatever, great band. But you know, there was something kind of about how these things, you know, if it's really common, then it kind of ages on you in some kinds of ways, maybe more than others. I don't know.
I think most of the population almost feel the other way, though. Like the people that like top 40 music, you know, if everybody likes it, then they like to be part of that. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's what we've
this day and age, how can you escape it? It's like all of top 40 plays in.
I work in it.
I mean, some
know,
people get fooled by it. It's like, you know, you get pushed some piece of music that I deem not that very good or very deep or anything, but it sells millions and billions of copies because people are told that this is what's you know, really good.
It's strange too because you see like even top 40 artists like embracing the counterculture, and so it's kind of weird when you see, I mean, kind of terrible examples or whatever, but like, you know, some top 40 artists with like ripped jeans on or something. It was like, you know, wait a minute, that's like trying to embrace like a grunge aesthetic or something. And it's
you
like,
can buy ripped jeans.
no, exactly. It's pretty cool.
$1,000 ripped jeans.
That's a good deal.
Pet peeves. I hate seeing these ripped jeans that you can buy. It's just like, Jesus.
Like your pants, Dion, are like actually ripped up. You know,
You could just have my pants if you want. If you're looking for ripped jeans, you're 32,
Wait,
32.
did you guys
give
see,
me a call.
Hold on. Relevant. So relevant. Did you guys see that? I just saw this post today of this woman who was caught on camera stealing a rock that was written on by Yoko Ono that said "Love Yourself."
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
it's worth $72,500.
And they're looking for this woman too.
They're looking for her. And it's like a real news story.
I think it's great.
A rock.
She stole the rock.
The rock that says "Love Yourself." Like it's just on the bottom in black paint. Love yourself.
That is so gangsta. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's certain songs that, you know, I hear and artists I hear, you know, on Top 40 Radio that I dig, you know, and I think almost what you said, Dion, like when people listen to music, sometimes if it's so popular, they purposely avoid it because of like the hype. Because I know so many people that don't like Cardi B or Nirvana because everybody loves them. But like, what do you think? Like, what's your opinion? You know what I mean? I think people kind of get.
I wish people were
lost
more
in that.
like that they would just trust their own feelings rather than. Even in the DIY scene or like the underground scene, I do see a lot of people just liking stuff because it's cool to like it, you know. And I go see some of the stuff and I'm like.
I see the complete opposite.
I don't think that's that good.
Yeah, you see all of the whole range of it. Really,
Yeah, you do. Yeah, like I don't like this band because they're KEXP likes them, so I'm not gonna listen to them. You know, I hear that a lot, and it's annoying. Like, what do you like? Do you like this? When you hear this, like,
Does
tell
it
me what
move
you
you?
think.
Yeah.
That's all.
But then you go on the extreme and you're like, okay, you could just be looking at it music for the music level. But if you find out that the artist is like a complete asshole,
Yeah.
you know, it's like you're taking outside influence and letting that influence your musical, you know, taste there as well. But that's a hard thing to like cross the line. It's
That's
like if
rough.
this person's has done something, you know, terrible, it's kind of hard to really embrace that kind of art and stuff. It's like
It is hard. It's hard to separate the art and the artist.
It's in
I
some
don't
respects.
find it too hard. To be
No?
honest. No,
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know why
let's
that
give
is,
a
but-
what's a good example?
Michael
like
Jackson?
Louis C.K. or something.
know.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, but the thing is, Michael, that's in like it's kind of
Michael
easy
Jackson.
details,
I also feel like
Gary Glitter.
Who's Gary Glitter?
Yeah.
I mean, I like Gary Glitter. I like his music. You know?
I mean, for
What about
me,
Sid Vicious? Didn't he kill his girlfriend allegedly?
well, who knows? I don't know.
Oh well, you know.
yeah, I mean Gary Glitter. It's weird because it's like for some reason I feel like that's all separated at a different time with Gary Glitter. Now, if I saw him, I'd be like, yeah, or something like that. You know what I mean?
I
but
still
it's kind
DJ
of
his
like,
records, you know.
but it's like, yeah, but that I don't know.
There's some of these black metal artists that burn churches. You know, people love.
Yeah, but, no, but they do that for a good reason. It's because the Christians erased all the Norwegian religion. And so they took and they destroyed all the religion all over the place. And they took and they transformed their churches and they faced them another direction and stuff. And the Norwegians, they don't even know what their religion is because it's been totally erased
By the
where
Christians.
by the Christians where they
What does that
can't
have to
find
do
know
it.
that.
with burning churches, though?
Because
So
they
they
took over
decided
their
to-
own churches. It was their churches. It was a
How?
Norwegian church, and so it was a Norwegian church. So it was built by Norwegians on the with the Norwegian religion. The Christians came, took the church,
Erased it.
erased their history, and turned it a different direction so it faced whatever the West or something. Changed their whole church, and so the guy was like, "Hey, I'm Norwegian.
I'm
You
gonna
came into
take it
my
back."
land. I'm going to take it back by burning it. You
do what
stole
they
and
did.
killed all of the people from my religion. I'm going to burn your church down."
But who was doing this?
Whoever those black metal dudes, the original people, whoever burned the church down.
No, I know
who
that,
it
but
is,
who was
but yeah.
changing
The Christians.
Christians.
Oh,
yeah,
like
Christians.
Christians will come from other areas.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or in Norway, from Norway.
It's kind of like religious gentrification in a way.
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
You
All
know,
right.
exactly.
That's exactly what happened. So, but that was the start of it. I think whoever those first people were, maybe we're doing it for those noble causes,
And
and
then-
other
right.
people are like, "That's badass. Let's burn a
Yeah.
church." You know.
So what do you guys are listening to now? Because I know last time when I had you guys on the radio, you did a DJ set. There was you guys had a whole lot of stuff that you guys were loving. So what are you digging now?
We were talking about Purling Hiss. I really like
Yeah.
them. I think that's a band that I've been listening to. Who
We're
else?
going on tour with Buck Gooder. I'm excited about that. It's gonna be good. They're a great band.
Yeah, that band. Prettiest Eyes we're going on tour with as well.
Okay,
we're like
yeah,
all
yeah.
the bands that we're touring
Sextile.
with.
They're gonna be cool. It's
Yeah.
gonna be cool.
I don't know. Did we see anybody? There's Idols, that band that you guys saw.
Yeah.
Conduit?
Shame.
You guys,
Shame.
Conduit is opening for you guys?
Conduit. Yeah, love
Conduit,
Conduit.
yeah.
Yeah. That's gonna
La
be
Luz
awesome.
has a cool
Oh,
new record
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It's out?
Oh, is it not
No,
out?
it's
My
not.
bad.
No, it's not.
I
May.
was supposed to leak
Yeah,
it.
May.
Oh no! No, I'm just-
Yeah, Leah snitch. But some of those singles are really good though.
Yeah, yeah, really
I love
good.
Shauna Cleveland. I think she's great. Her
Yeah,
solo
yeah.
record 3 years ago was
Oh, yeah.
banging.
Oh, yeah?
Loved
So
it.
good.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
so gorgeous. So you guys, your live performance, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. So when you guys are rehearsing, right? Do you take into consideration, the wildness of it? You know what I mean? Or it's just like, let me get these songs right, and then on stage, that's when let me just lose my mind. You know what I mean? Because I see Oliver taking his guitar and literally breaking it. You know what I mean? Do you account for that, or I don't understand. I'm just trying to get it.
It depends. Sometimes we kind of get wild in the practice space, but it's. I don't know. It kind of just depends on sort of what we're doing. Sometimes we're just kind of going over songs, like as you said. Sometimes we're sitting there writing. Sometimes we're just hanging out, goofing around. Sometimes we kind of worked ourselves up in a frenzy and are kind of going crazy. But it's kind of just. It's a session for friends to get together and sort of, explore ideas and things. And a lot of the things are almost like the springboard for kind of what we imagine is going to maybe happen at a live show.
I think we try to almost, when we rehearse, we we just get the basics, just try to remember the basics of the songs. But when we're on stage, it's best for me. I like it best when we don't even think about that.
Yeah.
You got to go down the road of just making it wild and crazy and
Totally
go with
present.
that feeling, because that's always way more exciting than like playing something perfectly or something like that. You know, that work's been done in the practice room. Now it's time to just like be in the moment and let loose.
It's entertainment. We have, you know, when people.
Well, it's not just. It's not even just entertainment.
Yeah,
It's like it's. This is sort of a chance for me to do what I love most in the world, and that is to create an energy that is totally explosive.
And that in itself is entertaining, at least to me.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is going to probably be the best entertainment for you, but it's also going to be the best feeling for me.
I think
Yes.
what's cool about it, what someone described it as, is maybe just like pushing away the ego for a second, as maybe contradictory as that sounds, because we're on stage like presenting ourselves as this, but at the same time, like we're really, I don't know what I'm looking at, like, you know, or anybody for that matter. Like, I don't know what anybody's looking at. I don't know who these people are. Like, I'm not taking in consideration the PR person in the front or on the side. Like, I'm not, you know, we're not considering like what the band aesthetic looks like so much as like, how are we going to like get, you know, push out everything that we're sort of all experiencing right now, that like we want to just lash out. I'm not an angry well, I try not to be an angry person all the time, but
What are the things that piss you off,
with the
you know?
music, it's sort of just like this outlet to the shows at least are such an important integral part for me to be able to push out exactly like what I'm feeling towards many things, you know, like total joy, total frustration, like happiness, or, you know, just like entertainment even. But, you know, it's a lot of like, we already have the fundamentals and the foundation of what we know how to do ingrained in us. So how can we like go even further into territory that we've never explored before with our instruments, with this moment where someone only has like an hour to see what we can do, you know? Or I don't know, I guess.
Is there like a floor plan? This is the spot where Oliver's gonna
No,
smash the
no.
guitar into pieces.
This is a spot where Dion's gonna fall in a
It
hole.
doesn't work.
Yes, he's gonna smash his bass at this specific part of the stage.
We've never done that.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was like one plan once, I think. We played this show where we were like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have this drum set in the closet, and we're going to pop open the closet, and we'll perform out from the closet or something. We went him out of the closet. The closet's locked. We don't know how to get into the thing. We had to like throw an amplifier through the door to smash down the door of the closet to get to the drums, which was so much more interesting than what our game plan was to begin with. It's like the game plan was not that exciting once it came down to it. So always those plans kind of just seem to kind of backfire. You'd had to learn a long time ago to just sort of abandon all that stuff. I mean, you know, anytime you kind of think like, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to jump out into the crowd or something like that. It's like your guitar is going to become unplugged, or you're going to trip or something like that. It's like it never... Those things work. You kind of almost just, at least
It doesn't work for us.
It doesn't work for us.
Especially because we change the set every night. And maybe if we had the same set every night, we could orchestrate something like that to like have key moments, do the same thing, but it'll be exactly the same every night. But it's not really what we do.
Yeah, I think
It's
you
kind of exciting.
embrace the energy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
something more real
And
comes
the
out of it and
failures.
stuff. You know, it's like,
Embrace the failures. That's
Yeah.
something that I really enjoy and appreciate about this band, is like, you know, being a newer member, it's always sort of intimidating to, you know, have everything right, everything perfect in a way, you know, just like, you know, at a new job, you want to be able to do things right. That's kind of in a way how I felt, but also I didn't feel that as soon as we started playing, because it's like, whoa, like even if I mess up, there's going to be something beautiful about that. And so it's all really exciting and present, and, you know, embracing all of the, like, you know, flaws or weird things that just end up happening, you know, that we maybe can't recreate, but we're not in there to do that.
Yeah, I noticed that there's not a lot of. It seems very just organic in a way. Like nothing is too planned. I just every time I see you guys on stage, I'm just thinking about what you're thinking, because that's just who I am.
Well, we're trying
You know
not
what
to
I mean?
think. That's the
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
No, seriously, it's like you just try to completely shoot yourself off to not be able to think of anything
Yeah.
at all, and
Just be in
that's
the
it's
moment.
this moment to use up every ounce of your energy, as quickly as you possibly can, so that you have to push yourself further to where you don't have energy, and then that's where you kind of like explore. And some really cool creative things happen. It's like when you can't, that's even part of the reason I think, we're using all this smoke and there's this extreme volume and all these things. So you can just erase everything as much as possible and just get down to the essence of, just what it sounds like for, raw power or something like that to be
Like Iggy Pop,
projected.
yes, like the
So,
Stooges. But what I'm trying to like understand from your performance is that you guys don't stop to tune your instruments. I've never seen that. You just go. You just go.
Well, we're in tune. We're in some sort of tune.
Like, some sort of tune. You see?
sort of tune.
Now I
we just
understand.
use our ears.
Yeah.
I mean, we have tuners, and we will tune at times,
yeah, we
but
will tune.
very often you'll hit your guitar and the whole thing goes out of tune or something. You have to be able to quickly, pick up and play and, totally transcribe things or just even come up with some part which is atonal and matches with what's going on.
Usually I try to stay in tune as much as I can, because then I'm a bit of an anchor when it comes to like the melody or being in or tunefulness or something. All of it, I mean, it depends on certain songs required. It would be, helps if Oliver's in tune for certain songs. Other songs, I mean, we just work around it, it's just the way it is.
So Oliver, a big shout out to Tim of Big Bliss. We were having this conversation about you guys, and we're trying to like understand like why do you break your guitars? One guitar on stage. Like, do you have a prop guitar where you destroy? Or no?
All my guitars are prop guitars.
Is that financially viable for you to destroy your stuff?
I've only had maybe like 3 or so necks ever be like broken beyond use. And of all the guitars I have, I still have them all. So, and I still use them. I'll just like kind of glue them back together as time sort of goes. And they get more and more janky as the years go on. But that kind of makes it sort of even thrilling and exciting to play something that is sort of a bit of a challenge. It's like playing an instrument that you're not used to, and some of these notes don't work, and some of these problems.
I can't play that part there. I gotta play it up
you got to
here
play it
'cause
up
don't
here,
work.
and then a lot of times you'll come up with even something more cooler and creative at the moment, and then you sort of like lose track of what you were sort of supposed to do, and you create something really awesome and cool. I think like a big inspiration for me was when I personally came up with this realization. I don't know, maybe it's a common known fact or whatever, but I feel like Jimi Hendrix was like fucking up all the time.
Yes, he was.
And like I was like, oh, that's so awesome, because that's so much more beautiful. It's him like, oh, wow, playing behind his back and like, and he's like, he hits the wrong chord, but he just freaking makes that the chord that it's supposed to be, by then going back to that crappy chord, or something like that, and doing all these things. And it's like, it just sounds so cool and so much better than the Star Spangled Banner or whatever would have,
his version
had it been played. It's sick. It's incredible, because you feel like something happening there. There's even this like struggle going on through the song. It's like even when you hear like just a very simple drum machine or something, a lot of times that can just get really boring or something that's so cookie cutter. A lot of some of this pop music from certain days, it's like you can just tell the life has been sucked out of it or something.
Or even with tuning, even when
tuning
like
and
someone,
stuff,
when a band is sort of stopped and trying to talk to the audience while tuning, or not even tuning, or not even talking and just tuning, there's a silence that people feel like waiting for the next thing, which I also love about playing in this band, because it's always like we're always trying to fill in the space that sort of like creates that awkward. And even, when that awkward moment's there, it's still something to be embraced, and still, but it keeps us on our toes, because it's constantly like, we have to keep this going.
Yes.
We know that in this hour long, we're not ourselves. I'm not Leah. Like, I don't want to be like, hey, so how's everybody doing? Because anytime we do, we all sound so silly.
Yeah. I went to a show, right? Oh my God, there's so many bands that are like, So, anybody got any good jokes? And I'm just like, yo,
That's like a
I want
number
my
one.
$10 back for
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
Stop telling
some people are
jokes,
good
man.
at that banter. Some
Some
people,
people.
some
Some
people
people
are
are really
great
good.
with the
Yeah.
jokes and really do it
Some
good,
people are
but
very good.
Absolutely.
not too many people.
But when it's forced, it's just like, okay,
Or the
I
other
don't need
thing-
you to say nothing while you're tuning your guitar. I understand what you have to do as a band.
You know what
I
blows
mean?
my mind too? I mean, maybe this makes me sound like a dick or something like that. But when people are like, you know, and this is our next song is this song that's about to be coming up. You know, it's called, you know, Trainwreck from, you know.
You
or
sound like
something.
me on
It's
the
a song-
radio. That's
it's-
what I have to do.
It's,
You know?
it's a song we just wrote. It's like.
It's a love song about my
you
last
look around.
breakup.
I mean, that's fine maybe if they want to tell a story about the song, but when they say this is our new song, you know, Peace Patrol or something, it's like, who cares? Nobody's
Yeah.
going to remember that thing. It's
so
kind of like you
true.
don't need to almost tell us.
And people are
you know?
listening for their own subjective
Yeah, I mean,
purposes.
if I really like some song, I don't know if the guy, I don't know if I'm really going to be paying attention to what the guy was saying. That kind of just cuts the mood of how awesome this music could potentially be. And maybe I'll go up and ask the artist, like, what was that third song you played or something? That was insane, you know? Then's the time for me to tell me that it was Peace Patrol and that I should check out that.
I saw the Migos live last September at the Meadows, and how they kind of go in between songs. Quavo would say, yo, let's make this joint slippery, and then it'll go right into that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that. You know,
It was kind of fun. It was chill. And
Yeah, you know, I don't like when people just
Some people
stop.
are good at it. Some people are not.
Exactly.
Well, sometimes it's relaxed, and sometimes they're almost like trying to like plug their things or something. You can kind of almost tell this or something, or they're trying to like, you know, I don't know, or it's a weird sort of thing. You feel kind of like, you know, I don't know. It's not genuine to like what's
It's-
going on with the emotion. Or I used to know this really great band, and they were fucking incredible, and it was this really ethereal music that just sounded like aliens making love or something like that. But the guy would every once in a while turn to the microphone and go, "Oops, sorry," when he would make a mess up, but nobody could tell. You know, there was like no way anyone could know. So it instantly like just bring you out of the moment and kill kind of what beautiful soundscape was going on. So it was just kind of weird.
And that soundscape
So-
was aliens making love.
Yo, and I went
you
to
know,
the
you
show-
know how that sounds. Right?
I went to the show in Long Island
Little
like a year or
squeaky.
two ago, right? Right, listeners, right? So this band will get on the mic and say, this song is about these stupid chicks out there to do. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? It was awful. It was so terrible.
Oh, whoa.
I'm like, I love supporting local music, but sometimes it gets tiresome. You know, like Chris Rock said, I love rap music. It's getting harder to defend it. I love local music, but sometimes it's getting hard to defend it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Dion, I know you recently played a show with the D4.
Yeah.
So is anything going to happen with that? Are you going to do it? Just you guys just coming together, playing one show, and that's it?
We played 14 shows. Actually.
14 shows.
Yeah,
There
we
you
did.
go. So you're a workhorse. That's
Yeah.
why I like you.
For sure.
No, I don't think. We kind of just treated it as a one-off, you know. There was a pretty legendary venue back in New Zealand that we always used to play, and it was closing down. So that was the kind of spearhead to play those shows. I just looked at it as a one-off. I mean, maybe we'll do some stuff, but I don't think so. It's just, you know, take it as it comes. Never say never, but. You know, it was nice actually just to think of it at least as, you know, we're just doing this one time and we're just going to enjoy it for what it is right now, and that's that, you know.
I saw a clip of you on Letterman years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I sent it to Connor. You know Connor, right?
Yeah.
You remember- Yeah, so I sent it to him. I was like, yo, look who this guy is. And it was you playing. I'm like, this is awesome. It's so
yeah.
cool to see, like, you know, you're on TV. You know,
Yeah.
someone as crazy and as, you know, eccentric as you are is on television, you know, with Letterman.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
Yeah,
It was very
that's
cool.
very cool. And Leah, you played with Le Boutrettes?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was cool for what it was, you know, being able to get this sort of pedestal experience into playing live shows in front of, you know, a bigger audience and going to these extreme places musically. I really thrived off of her energy from our shows. I felt like we connected in other ways, you know, in many ways that that I don't think will ever be replaced by anyone, just because like she really did inspire me musically, the way that she sings, the power that she has in her voice.
Oh, yeah.
So Yeah, I mean, I miss her.
Yeah, she's amazing. I never got to see them live, but
They're still playing,
yes.
and they got a new pretty badass drummer playing with them as well. And
Did you play on any albums or just on tour?
yeah, I played on this album called "Cries for the Flies."
Oh, I love that record.
Oh, thanks.
Did you play on a Raw Youth?
No, well, I composed. I don't know. I composed all those drum
Did
parts.
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
But they were
man.
replaced by Chris Common, who was playing bass with us, and he also plays drums.
So those arrangements are yours.
Yeah.
Wow, yo, I gotta give you, yo, oh man, I love that album so much.
Yeah,
It's such
yeah.
oh man, it's so beautiful. And it still holds up. I listened to it on the way back from work one time. I'm like, this album is just, this is it. And when people tell me, like rock is dead, I'm like, you haven't heard of the Butcherettes. No. Sorry, you haven't.
Yeah.
Like, I hear that conversation so many times, and I kind of understand what people mean by it, but like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to shows, I'm seeing all these albums come out. Like, I don't know what people are talking about. I don't know. It's crazy. And you guys have a new album, Pinned, coming out this Thursday. You got the release show same night at Elsewhere, right? Anything else you guys want to add?
Well, we're going on tour in Europe.
Oh.
I think we start the 18th of April. It's for 3 weeks.
And then we
I
come
think-
back out here.
And then we come back out here and we're doing a US tour, going through the South and over to California. And then later on in the year, we'll be doing the northern part of the States and probably back to Europe again.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah. If we're not coming to your town on this trip,
Better watch out.
possibly next trip.
Yes.
You three are an inspiration. You're so much fun. I love you three. Thank you guys so much for
having us.
coming
Hey,
on.
thanks for having us.
Anytime. And this has been level 6 of My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Don't forget to subscribe everywhere: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, and of course on my website, peteraradio.us. Thanks for Mike for holding it down here at Continental
Yeah.
Studios. Later.
Yep.